The road to greatness can be a lonely one, and no one knows that better than champion powerlifter James Vang. It was during a tough time in life that James made a choice. Ignore the naysayers, don't let others define you, and go all in. As a member of Team USA, a 9-time national champion, and Arnold Classic title holder, James Vang has powered his way to the top of the sport. It's not all about titles and breaking records for James. He enjoys giving back as a coach, advocating for health and wellness, and bringing pride to his Hmong community.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to another episode of C4 Podcast, Southeast Asian Athlete Achievement Through Adversity. My name is Coach Yandetka. I'm here with my co-host, John Messina. If you haven't already, please like and share our page on Facebook. It's Lao American Sports Hall of Fame, and it's also C4 Podcast. On IG is Lao American Sports. So, yeah, we got a great guest today, and I'm going to let my co-host, John Messina, go ahead and tell you all about him.
Yeah, well, thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode. Today we have James Vang, and before we jump into the interview with James, just wanted to point out a few things. KMUW, the NPR station in Wichita, Kansas, did a great piece on Noy Sorrentone. Noy's one of the pickleball guys that we interviewed last year back in episode 27. NPR actually used a segment of our interview in the story that they did with Noy to just tell kind of his background and stuff. So if you have not listened to that NPR segment or read the article, they have a written version as well. Check that out. We posted it to the Lao American Sports Hall of Fame Facebook's page. It is a really cool story on Noy. He's doing some awesome things there with pickleball in Wichita, Kansas. And also, we love supporting small business and the little guy. So what we're doing is the first 3 small business owners that message us after this episode airs, we're going to be giving away some free small business shout outs on the show, just to support the community, just to support the small business owners. We know it's tough for you guys, but we'd love to recognize you as a business owner and just give you a shout out. So the first 3 people that message us after this show airs, we will mention their businesses on a future episode. So with that, like I said, we have James Vang. He is a power lifter, a multi-year national champion at that, been to the Arnold Classic, and I'm in great company because both Coach Andeka and James have been to the Arnold, so it kind of makes me feel a little bad haven't accomplished anything like that. But James is we're really excited to have James. He's a Hmong American, and he's doing some great things in the sport. So with that, hey, James, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about your family's background, coming over from Asia to America, what you know about it, and your early childhood.
Yeah, so my parents, kind of like a lot of other Hmong people, were immigrants from the Vietnam War. We're kind of like some of the people that came after the war in 1975 when the war ended. And I think my parents were like around 9 or 10 years old, from Laos, born from Laos. So when they came over to America, they originally lived in California and they kind of just moved from place to place. So I think with a lot of immigrants, we always tend to find like a lot of places where we can live and kind of stay with family and things like that, because we tend to like stay in a big group. Hmong people were very tribal, so a lot of the times we tend to follow like the eldest of the clan, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So wherever the clan kind of takes us is kind of where we go. So I've kind of lived a little bit of like everywhere from Minnesota to Wisconsin to Georgia, so just a lot of the places where a lot of Hmong people live. But a majority of my life, when I got a little bit older, was in Georgia, where I currently live right now, where I have a lot of my friends, and kind of where all of the sports and all the lifting even began. So that's kind of my life and my family, just in a nutshell.
Okay. How'd you like Minnesota and all that snow? What was your experience when the first time you saw snow in Minnesota?
Man, so I mean, I was born in Wisconsin, but
okay.
Growing up in Georgia, the snow was like maybe 6 inches, compared to 3-4 feet.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a big game changer, especially when I first met snow. I was just younger, so we tend to have a lot more fun When
Yeah.
you get a little bit older and you have to drive through the snow, it's a little different, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
lived in Wisconsin. I lived in Wisconsin as well. And yeah, I'm in Illinois now, but you can tell they, with the country roads and the hills and all that, it's just, they don't do much plowing past, once you get past Milwaukee, it just seems like the
Yeah.
roads are you're kind of on your own when you get a snowstorm there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, James, so tell us then a little bit, how did you get into lifting and working out?
Okay. So I'm the youngest of four brothers. And I've also say like I'm the smallest one in the family. So like as I was getting older and kind of learning how to live my life, you know how like if you're the runt of the family, the little one, everybody always tells you like, hey, you can't do these things or you can't go out because you're too small and you're too weak. So it would be better if you just stay home, continue to read books and just be really, really smart academically, because I guess they already thought like that route athletic wise was like shut off for me. So from a very young age, when I was 12 years old, I started like running and just kind of do basic lifting like with curls and bench presses and things like that here and there. Just to kind of keep up with my brothers a little bit, just to kind of let them know like, hey, even though I'm small, don't count me out. I'm still a threat. You just don't see it as a threat right now, but pay attention. So I just kept training and training throughout my high school years, just to make sure that I felt comfortable with myself, not allowing other people to take away from me just because of my size or like my ethnicity. Because when I was growing up, there wasn't too many Asian people that I knew that was like successfully like an athlete, someone who was like on the varsity team, or not too many people just like in general that I knew of that I could like um, follow and grow up as. So I just kept continuing to lift weights and just try to be like a good role model, especially for like all the people that follow me after that. Specifically in powerlifting, I started in my college years. I didn't really know what powerlifting was at the time. I think I think that time was when I was 19, turning 20. There was a lot of family problems that I had during that time. So I was in like a really, really dark place, and I was staying with one of my buddies, and he was telling me that if I really like lifting weights, why not just go compete at this competition at the University of Georgia? So I went, competed, I won that little competition, and then from there, the people that hosted the competition wanted me to join their team and go compete nationally, and from there, I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah, that's crazy. Go ahead, Co.
A similar story, James. And I was the youngest of three brothers, right? So
Mm-hmm.
growing up, they didn't really talk to me. They more picked on me, and
Yeah, picked on me, yeah,
everybody
bully.
physical. Everybody physical with me. They used to kick my ass. Let's just say that. And it's funny. They bought a weight set for the house, and I always wanted to go and work out with them, but they wouldn't let me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then, after 6 months, a year, they quit and they were done, and it was down there. And then I just started, you know what? I said, I'm going to start using it. So that's how I got into, working out. And, yeah, being small, being Asian, I got my fair share of being picked on and all that stuff, especially coming, to America. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, the same way, man. I didn't see too many, heroes that I could look up to. Right, there weren't many Asian athletes, not much less Asian bodybuilders. And I wanted to be a bodybuilder, but I was like,
Yeah.
man, who could I look up to? So luckily I got Arnold, right, and he was
Yeah.
everybody's hero at that time. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I wish there would have been someone. It might have been a lot easier, especially convincing my family, right, because they just
Yeah.
laughed. Like there's nobody else doing it. Like, what makes you think you're going to be the first? And that actually drove me. That actually was like a motivator for me. I wanted to be the first. Once I asked that question. So very very similar.
Yeah.
Similar. So yeah.
Yeah. Yep, very similar. When I first got started too, I mean, I'm saying it kind of nicely, when I say like, I was being when I was the youngest and I used to get shunned off a lot. But generally, literally the same as you. You know, I wanted to lift. I wanted to be stronger. I wanted to change people's perspective of who they think I am. You know, because even today, you know, like if I wore like a sweater like this just to go work out, I just look like a regular guy. You know, and then you see me lift like 500-600 pounds on a deadlift or a squat or something like that. That kind of raises some eyebrows. Like, who is this 140-pound kid just coming out of nowhere, like squatting and deadlifting this much weight? You know. So like
Yeah,
I like that because I want people to know, like, just because I'm small or I'm Asian or you don't expect something great out of me, this is what I'm capable of doing, you know. And I think being able to overcome, you know, my own family and just people who are very negative about me and my life choices, because you know, with Asian families, I think what we grow up with is the morality and like the education system and all of that stuff with the culture. You know, I feel like it's very, very strong. So, like, if you wanted to be like a power lifter or a bodybuilder, a lot of the times, if it doesn't make a lot of money or if it doesn't benefit you in some kind of way, it's always looked down upon. You know, so
yeah,
like it's not
sure.
only do you have to fight yourself, but you have to fight your other people's perception of what you're doing. You know, and I find that also like a very tough mental battle, especially like if you're trying to get to the next level, you know, because again, a lot of the times we don't have any support. You know, we develop support through the people that we meet in the sports that we love, you know. So I'm pretty sure you probably met a lot of interesting people in bodybuilding as well, right?
Oh, yeah, for
And kind
sure.
of kept you, you know, pushing through and getting stronger and just learning a little bit more about what you can do, you know, to get better. And I feel like often when Asian families stop the younger kids from going further, you know, and going through all these challenges, we lose that competitive edge. We lose that knowledge that we gain when we compete at a very high level, you know.
Yeah. Well, it was very disappointing for me. I'd go to bodybuilding shows and I'd be the only one there, and I would win. Right? I mean, I remember a show. I won the whole show. I won my weight class and I won the overall. And there's this kid who, like, I think he was smaller than me. He must place like third or fifth, but he's walking with his girlfriend. His parents are behind him, his siblings, and they're all like so happy for him. And I like, man, I just won, and I felt empty, right? I mean, I just
Yeah.
won, but I didn't feel like, man, I wish I would have had that, right? I mean, and I said, I think I probably mentioned it to John, but I was like, imagine what I could have been if I would have had like the support, right? But
Right.
everything had to be, the negativity was my fuel, unfortunately.
Yep.
So
Nope. I totally agree. That's one of the reasons why like I try to be different, you know, especially from the people that I was around, you know, because a lot of the times too, when people get good at something, you know, they tend to keep the secrets to themselves or they want to
yeah,
like, you know, they want to be the top guy. And a lot of the times for me, you know, I always try to give back a lot to the younger generation too. So maybe
yeah,
perhaps they can grow and be better than us at a sooner position, you know,
yeah,
and just
yeah,
kind of let them know that, hey, if you continue on the path, even if you don't have any sort of support, even if you have like negative support, look at what I can accomplish, you know? And then if you kind of look at some of the things that some of the newer and younger generation athletes can do now that they have a little bit of support. I mean, we're looking at Olympic level athletes now, right? We're looking at
yeah.
like pageant shows and soccer players and all these, you know, people from America getting to that next level because they know like, hey, just all you have to do is be supportive. And the first three powerlifting competitions that I've ever been to nationally, that's actually what a lot of people ask me. They always ask me, hey, do you have any family that came to watch you? Or do you have anybody that's with you? And it's just me with a team of, you know, lack of a better word, Caucasians, right? We
Mm-hmm.
were all in the same hotel, same bus and car, and you know, everybody's just wondering like who I am because they want to know why I'm so strong, and yet I don't have anybody to celebrate with me. You know, every single year that I would win a national championship, and I felt like that was the hardest part about going to competitions, just talking with the people after they develop like a certain level of respect for you, just to realize that even though you're this good, no one comes to support you. You know, even if someone's not as good, they'll have like their whole families, and it just kind of makes you feel a little sad or a little unfulfilled, you know, as an athlete at the time.
Well, it was the guilt trip too, right? Like you said, man, because bodybuilding, powerlifting. there's no money in it, right? It's like my
Mhm.
parents couldn't brag about me. He's got a trophy. What's that one liner that my mother says, John?
You can't eat a
What
trophy.
a trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't put food on the table with a trophy,
Yep.
right? So yeah, it's
Well,
just
well, with that, James, what's funny about what you said is the whole reason we really found you is that we have a lot of Hmong followers of the Hall of Fame, and we started following some people back and so forth, and we started seeing you, the Hmong community, really promoting you and excited about you, and posting, "Hey, James Vang won a national title," right?
Yeah.
So, what does it mean to represent the Hmong people on the national stage, and what kind of support are you getting from the community?
I think kind of like, the thing with Sunisa Lee, I think when you're doing really, really well, the people in your community wants to uplift you and kind of let people know like, hey, in these kind of sports and in these kind of activities, we do have people who are starting to get to that national, international level. So I really appreciated that. I think the people that like some of the things that I do and appreciate who I am really appreciate a lot of the work that I do. I also do these these community health events, like every year, the best that I can. A lot of the times during the July 4th in Minnesota, there's always like a big sports tournament. And I usually always try to find myself like in the area, even if I don't live in Minnesota, to kind of get as many people who have like health problems or people who want to learn about powerlifting or just lifting in general, because there's a lot of Hmong bodybuilders as well. And what we try to do is we get together and we share the knowledge base that we have. That way, some of the younger kids who maybe can't afford personal training or maybe just wanted to, to have a little bit of the knowledge that made me successful, I'm already giving it to you. So I'm hoping that, with all of the things that I've done, that's probably one of the reasons why people do enjoy, I guess, promoting me and letting people know. Because not only do I compete at a high level, but I'm one of the few, I would argue, that still comes back and tries to give back to the community in my own way, even if I lose my own money.
Yeah.
that's definitely our
Mhm.
inspiration in having like the Hall of Fame page and the podcast again is to the Hall of Fame to promote awareness to let people know because
Mhm.
I didn't know a lot of these athletes before John and I got together, and
Mhm.
then like yeah, it's a sense of giving back, like you said, there's more people want to hold on to secrets because why? Because they're afraid of people, going ahead of them. And to me, I mean, I'm retired now, and I would love to see the youth. Um, I would love to see the youth, especially whether it be here in the United States or even like in Laos, like getting excited about some type of fitness, whether it be health and fitness, whether it be bodybuilding, whether it be powerlifting. I do believe it's our responsibility, like in a way, like to give back. So I applaud what you do, man. It's awesome.
Yes, because a lot of the times there's like skeptics too. Especially like with health, there's so many like things that you can do and try to be healthy. And within the Asian community, especially the Southeast Asian communities, we have like some of the highest population of like diabetes, stroke, lung cancer, liver cancer, and a lot of these health problems that we can solve literally with lifestyle. So I always feel like, if you're thinking about like health, who are you going to listen to? More than likely you're going to listen to somebody who's in the health field, who's like been competing at a really high level, or at least just have some sort of success and knowledge base behind what they're saying. So a lot of the times, not only do I want to back up what I'm saying, but I also want to be an example of what I say as well.
All right.
I'm not just telling you this is what you need to do to be healthy, but look at what I'm also able to do with my body and what kind of information I can give out. And hopefully let that kind of create like this positive momentum going into like all these younger kids who are thinking about powerlifting or bodybuilding or just health in general. And I think for me, that's what's really crucial, how people are going to remember me. And I know because of the way that I think within our community as well, there's a lot of people in powerlifting that have met me and really appreciate some of the things that I've taught them as well, regardless of your race. just because of the sport that we all love, you know. So I find all of that stuff just like amazing, you know.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. The difference between talking the talk and walking the walk, right? I mean, there's so much, even nowadays, there's so much information out there, and everybody can, take a task and say, like, whatever, they're a coach or they're a nutritionist or a trainer, but you got to look at, what did they do in their own career? I always take that into, account. That's always important to me. So that was a big thing for me is like, I wanted to be able to back it up. Like you say, back it up, not
Yep.
just like, here, I read it from a book and this is the way, I'm not going to throw out fancy words and all this stuff. I'm just going to show this is what I do, and I've done it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
If you want to see, you know, how far someone can get into the sport of lifting, this is as far as I've gotten. This is some of the accolades that I have, and I'm showing up to you, you know, in your communities, kind of teaching you for free. Maybe people might not appreciate that like at the moment, but you know, every year as we keep doing it, you know, our the events get a little bit bigger. More and more younger kids are coming together. Like just this last year, this is the first time I had maybe like 6 or 7 16-year olds kind of come out to one of my little unsanctioned powerlifting meets, you know, just to kind of promote the sport of powerlifting in the Hmong community a little bit. And there's definitely some interest there. You know, there's definitely people who want to learn how to lift heavy. There's definitely a lot of people who are like overweight and very, very unhealthy who want to come learn how to lift weights or how to get stronger, you know, just to be healthier for them. So overall, I find it that as I continue to lift heavy, the more people get to know me. The more people get to know me, the more I can just spread the information and help as many people as possible. And hopefully, that again creates a trend, even just for other people who follow me, that you are like your temple. You know, whenever people see you, whenever people talk to you, you know, they're coming to gain knowledge, gain wisdom, and whatever it is that you do, whether it's lifting or just even speaking on this podcast, you know, I feel like you represent who you are and your people. So it's good to know who you are, really know what you're talking about, and not just know, but also be about it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
awesome. So
Very
speaking of
cool.
those accolades you mentioned, James, what are some of your top accomplishments in the sport?
all right. So, some of my biggest accomplishments, I think, is just competing on the USA team 6 times, especially during like a very dark period of my life. So kind of around that 18, 19, my parents actually had like a big issue where they separated. But when they separated, they didn't just separate with themselves. Because again, I was already 18, 19, you know, so I got 3 older brothers. So maybe in my parents' perspective, they're like, we're all grown already. So perhaps the fact that they separated and just left us um, wasn't that big of a deal for them at the time, you know, thinking that we're going to be old enough to live our lives. So when I was going to college at the time, that was like a really, really rough time for me. Imagine just kind of being homeless, your parents aren't there, you're going to college for the first time, you don't even know who you are, what you want to be. All you know, all your entire life is your parents are telling you, go to school, be very smart, you know, have straight A's, and this is how you're going to have a successful life. And you follow that plan all the way up until they up and leave you, and then now you have to fend for yourself. Um, so during those period of me just figuring out how I'm going to live, how I'm going to accept the fact that you know my parents did this to me, I was very very angry, and I used a lot of that anger to lift weights and just kind of go as hard as I can, just to kind of keep my mind away from the fact that I'm living with strangers, I'm going to school without a purpose, I'm in debt, you know, I'm trying to live that American dream. But what is the American dream? You know, where everybody's just trying to figure out life for the first time. So during those 6 years, thinking about how hard it was for me to raise like $3,000 for a plane ticket, for a hotel, for all the fees, and just getting into the gym somehow, some way, either through someone's house or sneaking into gyms back in the day when we were younger, somehow, some way, I was going to get it done. And just seeing who I am now compared to that person really makes me think like, man, when I was going to Team USA and I was focused on training, I was so zoned into that, you know, and I think that was some of the proudest moments of my life, just being able to get to the top level when financially emotionally, all these other aspects of my life was in the worst possible place. And I think learning from that experience, going through all of the struggles, really made me a stronger person at this moment when I face my demons and my new mountains to climb at this point in my life.
Wow, yeah, I mean, that's humbling. To deal with that at that age and then still come through and how many national titles did you win? USA Powerlifting? Like three, maybe?
Nine,
Nine.
nine,
Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah, nine.
Nine. Wow, that man,
Yeah,
I tell you what, I'm humbled, and that is impressive for sure.
yeah,
That's for sure. Um, well, so how many Arnold Classics, man?
man. So in the USAPL, for the Arnold, I think there's like maybe 3 or 4 powerlifting federations that kind of host like an event at the Arnold. But specifically for USA powerlifting, I think last year was the first year that they started doing the Pro Series, where if you do win, you get like a big lump sum. So the last few years after that, or before that, whenever you compete at the Arnold, a lot of it was just for a trophy. You spend like
Yeah.
$2,000 for like a trophy. But
Mm.
this year, the reason why it was so hype was because they put $5,000 down for the equipped lifters that won the Arnold, and I was the first one to win the Arnold. So no matter what anybody says, regardless of what how people want to view that, I am the first equipped champion at the Arnold when it became a Pro Series. So no one can take that title away from me. The
Yep.
very first one. I've also competed at the Arnold another time with another federation. But overall, I would say the USAPL one, where I took 5,000, is probably the one that people know the most about. Because usually you don't win that much money from powerlifting.
Yeah, yeah. So we are friends with David Bootsumsey, and I don't know if you know him. He's a Lao
Mm-hmm.
American powerlifter. He's been to I think 6 Arnolds under USAPL. He does raw, not equipped.
Well,
Okay,
his
maybe
specialty is,
maybe I do know him. Maybe I do know
Okay.
him.
yeah, he
Mhm.
focuses on the bench press.
Yeah.
So
If not,
whereas
yeah. If not, we got to introduce you to, man. We need a picture of you
Yeah.
guys at the next Arnold if David goes back. He's moved into the masters category, but he's still going
Is,
and he's still kicking butt over there.
is
So
he like smaller guy too, like 130 or something like that?
yeah, he's kind of a shorter
Yep,
guy.
yep.
He's a South
he's
Bend
shorter,
police officer.
he's like,
Yep.
no, he's about 200 pounds.
He's
Okay,
like this
I
though.
know. I think I know who you're talking about. I think I know who you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah, I
Shaved,
Really.
follow
shaved
him
head
too.
or
So
shaved
very
head.
impressive.
Yeah, shaved head. Like
Yeah.
me, bald
Yeah.
head.
And overall good guy, man. Yeah, we're gonna get you two together. Then if you guys are at an Arnold together next time, that'll be epic to get a photo.
Yes, sir. That'll be cool,
That
man.
that'll be really cool. Well,
Mm,
awesome. Well, you were rocking and rolling in your career,
mm,
and then unfortunately you had the rug pulled out from you a little bit, right?
mm.
They
Yep.
they do the testing, and unbeknownst to you, you had some contamination of something found in your system. You've owned it. You figured out what happened. And so we want to kind of make this as a lesson to other people because I think people could learn from
Yep.
the story. So tell us a little bit about what happened there, James, and so forth.
Yeah. So, when I was competing, this was like before I got with my family. So, if people didn't know, just like the last 3 years, I got married and then I just had a baby. My baby's currently about nine
Congratulations.
months. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So during the process of me learning how to be a father, taking care of 4 boys and then a newborn, when I was going to work, um, I would find myself drinking like a rain or like a Vang every morning. And I had a friend who was telling me that drinking a lot of energy drinks like that is really, really bad, right? And I was telling him, well, my baby's waking me up like 3, 4 times a night. I'm getting maybe 2, 3 hours of sleep every night. If you still want me to come to work, I gotta be functional at least, right? So he recommended something that you can get over the counter called Carterin, right? So I didn't know what Carterin was, but he was pretty much saying that what Carterin does is it helps give you a little bit of energy to kind of get you through the day. So I'm like, all right, well, if I'm taking this, is it banned on the WADA drug test, right? So then we looked at the WADA drug test. If you ever go to like the WADA substance ban list, they'll have like a list of things that you can get, that you can pop a drug test for. And if you look at that list, cardin wasn't on the list. This
Mhm.
product isn't illegal. You could find it over the counter. You could buy it like at a supplement store and things like that. So if it's not on the ban list, on their actual rule book, and you can legally buy it, and it can kind of help me get through the process of me becoming a father and giving me a little bit of energy for work, I was like, well, as long as I don't pop a drug test, I guess that's cool, right? Turns out this substance went by a few other names that I was not aware of. And I guess during the time when I took the drug test, they also had a WADA drug test. So if a lot of people don't know, USAPL used to be a part of the IPF, and the IPF is the International Powerlifting Federation that does WADA drug testing. And that day, USAPL decided to do a WADA drug test, and the substance that I was taking happened to pop up into my pee as like very metabolite. So then I got suspended because of that. It wasn't like a steroid or anything like that. It wasn't a SARM like most people like to believe. It's just something that wasn't on the ban list that happened to have another name and it popped up, and that's kind of how I got, I guess, suspended. Um, Overall, if I would have took a regular USAPL test or like any other drug test, I would have passed. So if people didn't know, 2 weeks before the USAPL meet, I competed at a USPA drug tested meet, took that drug test and passed because they only drug test for like steroids and growth hormone. So when you get into the WADA, that's where things become a little fishy, where some things that you take, you have to be very careful. Some vitamins, alcohol is actually a part of that too. So like if you drink like a beer or two or something like that right before you compete and it pops up in your pee, you can get suspended for that. Some people have like a lot of medication that they get prescribed from their doctors that maybe they don't know that's also on the ban list. A lot of those people also pop for drug tests as well. A few of my friends was taking sleep medication and heart blood pressure medication, and the same time that I got popped, they also all got popped for the very same
Mm.
thing because they all got that extra panel. But the national competition before, we all took drug tests and none of that popped. See, so I guess it really just depends on the drug test that you're getting, what federation you're competing in, and what you want to accomplish within that federation. And it just so happens that I was at a vulnerable position in my life, and I wasn't really thinking about all of the substances that I was taking at the time. And it just so happens that what I was taking to help out with my life just didn't align with the federation that I was competing in. Even though there's other federations that I compete in that I can definitely pass, which is why I'm competing a little bit more in like USPA and other powerlifting federations that still does drug tests, but only for steroids, not for like all of the other stuff like alcohol, THC, blood pressure medicine, and things that you could buy legally. So I got caught with that. Something that I'm going to have to live for the rest of my life, I guess, if I want to continue competing in USAPL. But if you ever fail a drug test, you don't need to make an excuse about it. I think as a person, you should just own up to it. If you didn't know, you didn't know. If you knew, then just own up to it. But what you can definitely learn from this is that there's more than just one federation for powerlifting. There's drug tested, non-drug tested, some drug tests for all of the things, some drug tests just for steroids and growth hormones. So when you think about like what you want to do in terms of competition, definitely read the book, know a little bit more about who you're getting lifting advice from, who you're getting your things from, and what goes in and out of your body. And I think if you do that, you won't have to go through the same situation that I went through with USAPL. But overall, I'm still competing. I'm still steroid, growth hormone, drug free. So for the most part, I'm still doing me, if that makes sense. Still just kind of being the strongest person that I can be no matter what. And this could be a lesson that I hope people, if they ever do get into a situation like me, can take away from.
Yeah. I mean, seems like an unfortunate, circumstance, and and it is man of you like to own up for it. But I'd be kind of like, I don't know. I try to plead my case, but I guess there's only so much you can do,
Yeah.
But to me, personally, my thing is, whether you're open or you're natural or non-natural, I never really, I'm not for or against. I grew up in
Yeah.
bodybuilding where there was a lot of deceit. I mean, there was a lot of guys that were competing in natural events, right? Natural, like drug tested, that were
Mhm.
always trying to beat the test. And those guys to me were like, if you're gonna do it, just be honest and do open. Why are you trying
Yeah.
to take away, why are you trying to take away someone else's trophy? Like, I don't know, like no difference than than like a guy. Man, I don't know if I should say this, but like there have been cases.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm saying to bodybuilding. There's been cases where guys have posed as women to compete as a woman bodybuilder to win a championship. There have been cases. There have been stories of that, and to me that's crazy. I mean, the things people do to win. You know,
Yeah.
to dress, to put on a wig, and
I
and
think,
heard
yeah, and
stories about.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, where you're talking about like the intentions behind what you're doing. Like if
Yeah.
you think about the situation that I was in, I mean, I've already competed at, USA or the IPF 6 times. I've already gotten drug tested up the
Mm-hmm.
wazoo during all of those years as well. And then during the 1 year that I popped for something that you could buy over the counter that I was not aware of, I came second place. I didn't win anything. I didn't win any money. I didn't win a national championship or anything like that. So if you truly think about like the success that I had during the time, was it really something that I should have been popped for? Right, kind of like what you're saying, like you're pleading your
Yeah.
case.
Yeah.
If I intentionally did this to win and it made me physically stronger, I can see that argument a little bit. But what I was taking wasn't really anything that would make you stronger. It would make you maybe run a little bit longer, but that's about it, right? So I guess it really just depends on you as a person and how you view what other people do. Because for some people, if you take protein shake, that's already not natural. Some people will even tell you like if you're just drinking a protein shake that you're already taking some stuff compared to them, so you're unnatural. For other people, they got the realm of like taking TRT and things like that as well. I mean, if you are on things like that, I think there's categories like I said, like USPA, they have a non-drug tested. So like if you are on some stuff that will fail a drug test for steroids and growth hormones, then just compete in that federation.
Yeah.
But if you're intentionally trying to cheat and win, I feel like that's where you might have failed yourself as a person. But if you're just unaware, like the case that I am, I would still argue that you have to be smarter about some of the decisions that you make. Things nowadays can be very fishy. I remember there was a time where there's a pre-workout that you could buy at Walmart that had like traces of a certain thing that will make you fail for a drug test.
Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine you were taking a pre-workout that you thought was clean, and all of their ingredients say that it's clean, and then it shows up as something else that you was not aware of during a drug test. And that's happened before. So I just
Yeah.
kind of feel like I'm caught up in that same loop, where there's just certain things that you're just not aware of. And if you knew like all the ins and outs of that stuff, maybe you would have been a little bit smarter or just be a little bit more aware.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a shady side to the supplement business too, right? People are like they're trying to bring out the best product, but they're not. They don't have to put everything on there. They can just say proprietary blends, and that covers
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if you're putting something that works there that's not legal, well, people are going to love it. People are going to come back for more. It's going to help your business, right? And then, I mean,
Yeah.
end of the day, that's what they want to do, but and not realizing the harm. I mean, just like the harm of failing a drug test, or even worse, some guy having a bad reaction to it because
Yeah.
you're looking at the label, it's not on there or anything, right? And like these pre-workouts, man, they're so high in stimulants. Like
Right.
it's just caffeine. Like too much caffeine is bad. So I don't
yeah.
know
Yeah.
what else
Well,
I don't know what else
exactly.
they're putting in.
And again, I think I've heard some people who have failed drug tests for too much caffeine as well. So
Okay.
if you think about that, if you think about what they're failing for, I think that's for me that's more crucial. If I was taking steroids or like a growth hormone or something like that that made me physically stronger to win the competition and it was a money competition, I would think like the weight of that would be a little bit heavier on my head. But the fact that I didn't win anything, it wasn't for a competition, it wasn't for money, and it wasn't like a growth hormone or steroids or like that. I didn't feel too bad about it. All right, I guess we'll just go to another federation. At least that's the way that I look at it. If I still want to continue to compete in powerlifting, then I just have to go to a place where some of the things that I took was not on their drug list. So like USPA, they take a look at the people that has failed the drug test before, and if what you failed for from another federation is on the same list as theirs, then you continue to be banned in their federation as well. So
Hmm.
the thing that I was caught for in USAPL isn't on the USPA drug test.
Okay.
So generally, I can still compete in the drug tested division for USPA.
Yeah.
So again, it really just depends on the federation because you already know bodybuilding. There's so many different federations too. It really just depends on how they're doing their drug testing. What are they really looking for? The time frame even 2 hours and 24 hours are two different things. So I think a lot of people should take that into consideration as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, bodybuilding, there's drug tested events, and there's 200 people, but and they get to call the show drug tested, and they attract, and some people are, I'm going to do that, and then when the testing comes, they're testing five people,
Yeah,
five random
yeah,
people, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
how does that work? I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of there's
There's a
shadiness.
lot of Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah,
of politics too. Uh,
politics. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you got
yeah.
to be an
Sometimes
organic
it's also about
chemist.
who you know.
To
Yeah,
you
pretty
know,
much.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
just to understand it.
powerlifting, at least I can say with powerlifting, like, okay, you lifted 300 pounds, right? And then the guy that's if you lift more than anybody else, you're gonna win, right? In
Yep.
bodybuilding, you could literally look like the best guy on stage, but again, like who someone
Still
who was just
lose.
said, it's who you know. Well, if that judge wants his guy to win, then his guy is going to win. Or if that promoter wants his guy to win, he's going to win no matter what. So yeah, it's there's a dark side to everything, I guess. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
glad to know that, yeah, you failed your test, but one, you owned up to it, and two, it really wasn't something that you did intentionally, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that really defines who you are as a person, right? You're saying, hey, man, I did it, but at the same time, it's like I wasn't doing it on purpose. I had no idea. I mean, I even checked, like you said, I even
Yeah.
checked the list, right? And it's not
Yeah. If
on
you
there.
check the list right now, if you go check the list right now, you can go to Google and just type "wanna ban list," and then they'll have like a PDF of all the things on their list. And if you look, Carterin is not on that list.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
That's
if you want to look at it like that, then how did I even fail, right?
Yeah, yeah.
well, cool. Well, James, I mean, so you've learned a lot through that and through just your experience. I understand you do some coaching, right?
Yes, sir. I
Yeah,
do.
tell us about that. What do you enjoy about coaching and training others?
So what I appreciate about like coaching and teaching others is kind of like the same lesson that I've learned from myself. Because I think a lot of people, when they think about me as a lifter, they think that I'm chasing after the national championships, or they think I'm chasing after all this glory. But what they don't realize is this is just a lifestyle for me. I wake up, breathe, lifting. You know what I mean? Like everything that I do involves how I can be the strongest version of myself. And it just so happens that powerlifting competition exists. It's very simple. It's less subjective than other sports, and I really like that. I can just do it all by myself. You think about like other sports, team sports. It's hard for you to do that by yourself. You're not going to win a soccer game by yourself. Generally. And then, kind of like what Cole was saying, bodybuilding is a little bit more subjective. So even if you're the best looking guy there, you can still lose. So for powerlifting, it's a little bit simpler. It's nice, cut and dry. And I just feel like that's a little bit easier on my end when I think about powerlifting. What was the question again?
Oh, I just
Some of the
what
other.
we were just talking about coaching and what you enjoyed about it the most, really.
Oh, yeah. And so when I get to these levels, I want to show people the same lessons that I've learned. So what did I learn from powerlifting? I learned discipline. I learned that if I train really, really hard, and I put my mind to it, that I can accomplish and go to these competitions that I had never ever thought that I could dream of, right? So when someone is learning how to powerlift for the first time, I want to give them an experience that they won't get with any other sport. With bodybuilding, there's a certain energy or like a certain feel that you get when you train with someone who's training for a bodybuilding competition. And then when you go train with someone who's getting ready for a powerlifting event, it's also different. The energy is different. And I always find it that, someone who wants to become more powerful tends to be a very weak individual, maybe mentally, or maybe when they first started lifting, they have that insecurity about themselves. And I want to show them that I used to be just like you. And now you are coming to me for lifting advice. I'm a small Asian kid who has now accomplished something that maybe less than 1% of the population can ever do, especially being the fact that I'm from, Southeast Asia as well. So if I can do it, what can you do? One of the things that you can accomplish with my guidance and your competitions going forward, right? And I think after they compete for the very first time and they hit that new PR, the new bench press number or new deadlift number, or they just enjoy powerlifting and they learn like something like a switch clicks in their head, for me, that is the moment I know that I've changed their life. And for me, that's what I look for when I coach. I try to teach people that when you compete, it's not about winning the gold medal. It's about being satisfied with your performance. Because again, you can be first place, no mom and dad, no brothers, no aunts and uncles come visit you. Saddest victory in the world, right? You're gonna always, like I always tell people that, the gold medals on my walls, I don't even keep those, because the gold medals, not only do they make me cocky, right, to think that, all right, I win, I don't have to train hard anymore, but it just reminds me of the sadness that I also remember when I won that medal and no one was there to celebrate it with me. So you can also have a bad time just being a champion. So I want people to know, like, the lifestyle, coming second place, third place, losing or failing a drug test, none of that really matters. I think what really matters is just you learning how to be the best version of yourself, teaching people that you are more capable of what you think and what other people think. And when they learn that, for me, that's a win as a coach. And that's what I look for when I coach people.
Wow, well, that's great.
That's so funny you say that about your medals, because like I got trophies that I don't know where they are, especially early in my career, because I really didn't care. I mean, like I really had one to share it with, so it's like I don't even know where they are. Now near the end, I started appreciating more and holding on to it. So I do have my Olympia medal when I competed at Olympia, and that's probably one of my more prouder accomplishments. I don't even know where my trophy is that when I turned professional. I have no idea, So fortunately, I was able to take pictures with it. I think my dad took a picture with it. I have a picture of him holding up that trophy, but I don't physically know where it's at right now, So, but you mentioned like
same concept, same concept.
Yeah, very similar. But you mentioned like having that weaker mentality, man. There's bodybuilders that are 300 pounds and look in the mirror. Well, let's just talk about myself. I remember a time when I was, at my biggest and looking in the mirror, it's like, man, I feel small. So it's like but that had to do with my self-confidence. That had to do with my self-esteem. And like there are people telling me at the gym, it's getting close to a show, and they're all saying I look great. And I saw myself in the mirror and I was like, man, I look like shit. I wasn't happy with it. And that was that little kid that was, that was picked on as a kid, that was beat up, that was, made fun of. That was the kid that was saying, man, I'm not good enough. Where in other people's eyes, I was like, man, you look fantastic. So like, the experiences and, the things you go through as a kid growing up, man, they tend to stay with you, until you face that demon, like you said, right? Once you face the demon and work through it, if you don't, that demon is going to follow you, throughout your life. So
because especially like even you were saying like you're retired now, but look at the way that you think about lifting weights now. Do you feel like there's so much more of like a breeze now? Like you don't feel pressured to eat a certain way. You don't feel pressure that you have to get after it all the time. A lot of the times, when you compete at that level, you sacrifice so much to be at the level that you're at, just not to win something.
Yeah.
And I think that,
there's never enough, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that really hits at people. So as a coach, what I want them to realize is that that person is the person that you need to focus on. The competition itself and winning first place is just a result of you overcoming your own weaknesses. And I think that's where like a lot of people, when they see me lift weights and they see me get strong, that's where they get it. Like they have a misunderstanding of who I am. I didn't compete to win first place. I lift weights really, really heavy, and first place just became something that happens every now and then through my hard work because I focus a lot on myself. But when people get into bodybuilding or like sports that are more subjective, where does all your hard work goes? Like it could be subjective to this judge or that judge, and it really just puts like a sour taste in your head. Like, is the same perception that I had of myself before still the same that I have right now? And if you as a coach, even now, you too, when you get new people who get into the sport, you can kind of hit on that psyche a little bit harder. Like, hey, just remember that overall, you want to train as hard as you can, but at the end of the day, you still have to be happy about it. Are you happy with who you are at the beginning of the competition, at the end, and what did you learn about yourself? And I find that that's the things that people miss out from coaching. Yeah, getting PRs is great. Getting a new body composition, getting shredded abs, or moving up the placing is fine. But if you're again, who are you celebrating with? Are you happy about your progress? Are you happy with your success? Because if you're not, then none of that really truly matters. None of the gold medals matter. None of the first placing or size matters. If you're not happy with it.
Well, it's definitely you versus you. I tell my clients just be better than yesterday. Don't compare yourself to other people. Be better than the person you were yesterday. And I just say that as like the way to live life, right? I'm even talking about body, but just life. If you can
generally,
dude, what can you do better today? If you had a bad day, okay, well, tomorrow you get a chance to do it, just to be better, to be a better human being, so
that's it.
But I've grown more in the sense of like the first half of my life was more so much about the physical, whereas the second half's been more about like the spiritual, right? More about the mental.
Exactly. So technically, that's kind of where I'm at too in my journey right now. Like right now, what do I really have to prove? Like when you win enough national champions and when you represent the country enough, at the end of the day, if someone else was in my shoe, would they have even been able to accomplish some of the things that I've accomplished? So I think that I take pride in that as well. Just being able to overcome some of these hardships and being able to accomplish the things that I accomplished. So for now, I'm at a different stage in my journey. The most important thing for me right now is taking care of my family and making sure that, again, there's food on the table. So as much as I love lifting weights, like if it's not in the cards this year or next year, then who cares, right? At the moment, it's about my family. And if I can still compete, great. If I can't, then I'll give back the best that I can because I still volunteer. I still do I'm going to try to become a USPA judge as well for that federation. So I'm going to be judging, spotting and loading and still giving back. So at the end of the day, there's more to the sport or there's more to being the strongest person than just lifting heavy weights. And I think as a father, as a like a husband, an older brother, younger brother, a son, we all know like life hits us in so many different ways and so many different challenges, and there's so many different kinds of strength that you need, not just physical strength. And I hope when people see me and some of the struggles that I go through and how I overcome them, I can give them kind of like a blueprint on how they can accomplish or overcome these mountains, so then it can help them reach the next step into climbing the next mountain.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, so with that, we're coming to the end of the interview, James, and we had a special announcement. As you know, Co and I run the Lao American Sports Hall of Fame, an organization that represents athletes of all ethnicities from Laos. So Lao, Hmong, Khmer, Lahu. Laos is actually a very diverse country.
Yep.
We established it back in 2021 to recognize these athletes and formalize a Hall of Fame. We would like to announce that we would like to include you in the class of 2023 and induct you into the Lao American Sports Hall of Fame. So,
Woo!
yeah, so
Well,
welcome.
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So welcome to the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Your accomplishments. Well, tell us about your some of your lifts, man. Tell us about some of your, what's your best bench, what's your best squat, what's your best dead, at what body weight?
Yep. So a lot of I've only competed at 145 or 148, depending on the federation. But let's just say between 145 pounds to 148. I'm standing at about 5'2". So imagine 5'2", 148 pounds. There's like different divisions for powerlifting, but let's just say how most people know powerlifting, like with just, if you walk into the gym and you're just wearing a shirt, the most I've ever squatted was 535 raw with sleeves. The most I've ever bench pressed was 350 to the chest and then locking out in the gym. And then the most I deadlifted is 635 raw.
It's like 4 times your body weight.
Yeah, a little bit more than 4 times body weight.
Yeah, a little more than 4. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So like 595, I think, when I'm 145, that's like 590 is 4 times body weight. So when I pulled like 622 at 145, that was like maybe 4.2 or something like that over my body weight, working towards that 5 times, 5 times body weight.
Wow, it was almost 3 times, right? It was more than 3 times your body weight, right?
Yeah, more than 3 times. Yep.
Yeah.
And then if you dig into powerlifting a little bit deeper into single ply and stuff like that, the most I've ever done single ply is squat 650. I benched 470, and then I deadlifted 617 as well. On the single ply, where you get a little bit more help from like a compression shirt and knee wraps. Bodybuilders use knee wraps as well. So just to give you like an idea of what single ply is like.
Well, I know when I started with, coming up in my bodybuilding career, I would watch powerlifting, and I would like, there'd always be like powerlifting results in the magazines, and I don't know, I'd see like a super heavyweight, a 300-pound man, and he's squatting like whatever, 700 pounds and, or 700, 800. I was more impressed with the guy, like, because I was small, me, I'm not that bigger. I'm not that big. I would be more impressed with the guy that was like, doing the amounts that you were doing, the guys who were probably 140, 150, 160, and they were doing like 3 times their body weight in squats and, 3, 4 times their body weight in deadlifts. I mean, that to me was more impressive because it's that kind of pound for pound kind of thing, right? Yep. I mean, yeah, I weigh 150, but and you weigh 300, but I'm actually lifting more weight than you. I mean, I always take that into account about like how I I'm the guys that I admired, so. Yeah, that's a very impressive numbers, so.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
It is. Well, hey, James, this has been a great interview. It's exactly what the podcast is all about, right? Hearing the story of the accomplishments, but also all the obstacles along the way, and hoping to inspire others to, pursue their dreams. So we appreciate you coming on. This has been great. Folks, that's a wrap on the episode for today. Co, anything else?
No, I mean, you covered it. So yeah, again, congratulations on the 2023 induction. So we're honored. We're honored that you on. So
yeah, thank you. Appreciate y'all for inviting me as well and just kind of speaking a little bit. I feel like the more people know a little bit more about me and some of the accomplishments I've done in powerlifting, the more we can have more people be more immersed into the sport. Yeah. And I just, again, appreciate y'all for even thinking of me for being an athlete that can be a good example for other people. So again, overall, just thank y'all for having me and appreciate for the 2023 induction.
All right. Thanks. That's a wrap. The C4 podcast is brought to you by the Lao American Sports Hall of Fame. Visit us on the web at laoamericansports.com, celebrating the first, inspiring the next.